This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Is Lemon's Car Spotting. I'm Eric. That's Nick. To that side over there. And here's what we do. We should look at 10 cars that you guys have spotted, and every week we pick one we want to see built for Lemons, one we want to see built. The hooptiest car of the 10. It's fine. Nick, tell me when to stop as we follow our patented choosing method.
Stop.
All right. Nick has the hooptiest.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, man, this is some kind of Tornado Trofeo. No, what is it? So, God, General Motors, you had the Tornado, you had the Trofeo. Was there also a Tornado Trofeo together at once?
I think that it was like one of those deals where they slapped too many names on it and then they walked it back. And they're like, no, it's just the Trofeo now.
Oh, God.
So somewhere in the 80s, they downsized these. And this is, I think, built on the same platform as the Rayada.
Okay.
And some of these, the later ones, had the touch screen also. I don't know if this one does. Somebody inevitably will know this. But good Lord, I've never seen one from this angle. And it's kind of horrifying to look at.
I mean, I really respect what they were trying to do. I mean, it was just sort of a very 80s, Blade Runner-ish. I love how the full width, super skinny taillight is the same size, shape, and color as the bumper overrider.
Yep.
Which gives it a very, graph paper giant equals sign effect when looking at it from the back. I mean, this thing is in mint condition. I'll give it that.
This is one of those cars that was oddly taken care of because it was as close to Oldsmobile was making to a sporty something at the time.
Yeah. God, the other thing that is repeated in the styling are the little reflectors in the bumper and then these square exhaust tips. So this would have had, a 3800?
I guarantee this had a 3800.
I mean, that's a good motor.
They would have put it.
We've seen it many times in Lemons. You know what people don't do in Lemons, and they should, is any kind of front drive transverse engine vehicle, like a Civic. Put a 3800 into a Civic. Because I mean, arguably, I think the 3800 is more reliable in Lemons and more powerful than a Honda 4-cylinder.
It certainly does.
Somebody should do that. Somebody should race one of these too, because that would look incredible. This one is kind of nice, maybe, but
maybe. I mean, the panel gaps are not insignificant.
Well, right. That seems pretty normal. All right, next up. Oh, dude, is it an LSS?
That is an LSS, which I think was also like in 98 or something. It doesn't matter.
Oh, man. Well, we have this long-standing idea that's never going to happen of the the all front-wheel drive General Motors rally that goes to all of these defunct General Motors factory sites in and around Michigan. And my strategy for this has been maximum comfort. Like, what's the most comfortable vehicle you could get? And then the LSS has popped onto my radar a couple times. I mean, I think I got to get a Pontiac because my name's right in it. I mean, come on. But LSS, I mean, Phil's talking about Saturns and this and that. I'm like, no. I want something that has a bench seat with maximum cushion and air conditioning that'll freeze a side of beef. That's what I'm going for.
It's a good plan. I mean, this one's done some living too. It's got the drift style bumper repair. I appreciate that kind of stitching. It's shot in the middle of winter, also in Logan, Ohio. So obviously it's got all the road grime and salt plastered all over it. It looks like maybe some red tape over the partially broken rear tail section. But, kind of an okay looking car.
Yeah, I mean, well, and speaking of the winter, I mean, it's a perfect winter car. Like, front wheel drive is good for the winter. GM climate control is second to none. I mean, if they're going to do one thing, that's it. And then, the condition is like, well, if I slide it into a bank of ice, that's kind of fine. So, Also of note, not the first Lemons car spotting we've seen in the Dollar Tree parking lot.
Yeah, 100%. Mismatched wheels also.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Maybe one from an Impala in the back.
I think so, yeah.
All right. Next up. Actually, is that an Aurora wheel in the front? Maybe they shared those with the LSS.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up. Oh, baby. Classic. Now, this is that car that we weren't sure what it was, that had the weird arrow rear end treatment that we saw a couple of weeks ago.
Circa 1980. Yeah.
Yeah. Some kind of Cutlass. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this would have been rear drive. Probably could get it with like an Olds 307. What is there to say? It's in the pick and pull.
A killer license plate.
Oh, look at that.
Filler. Yeah.
What is happening? Is it a lightning bolt and the Ferrari prancing horse?
I think, or whatever the, I don't know where Derek 499 is from, but I'm just going to guess, whatever the Kansas equivalent of that is.
Right.
The Black Stallion.
A fine vehicle.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. Oh, man. You know what's amazing? This is also a Cutlass Supreme.
Oh, wow. See, that's the thing. You get, what do you drive? Oh, it's a Cutlass Supreme. You have no idea what it is. Could be this.
Yeah.
Could be that. Now, this one, God, what did the front, that Trofeo, what did the front look like? I think it had the fully hidden headlights, maybe. But I was just thinking like the single 1 inch tall line for taillight that the Trofeo had combined with the single 1 inch tall line for front end treatment, put that into one car and man, you've got something.
Yeah, totally. It's this whole horizontal lines was the theme of kind of everything from Oldsmobile at the time. You get these weird strakes that run the length of the car and are always misaligned because of all the panel gaps and assembly errors.
And well, a couple other things noteworthy. One, I mean, the really super squinted down narrow headlight deal. There's really a fine line between we're futuristic and this looks like cool and like a little space shuttle, and Neanderthal man with unibrow. Because it has that effect too. It has my forehead is too big effect.
Man. All right, so I think these have the 3100,
right,
which was the smaller, different family of V6. But more crucially, the door handle was on the B pillar,
right,
like on the door,
just like a FDRX7.
Yeah, which in this case appears to be rendered inoperable by getting clobbered by
there was an incident where the man was in a rush and he opened his door into fast moving traffic. Dude.
Machine.
Also, one of the comments on this post, which is from Wasted Whips of 714, it says, my wife had one. It was a 4-door. It was a factory mule and had the police interceptor engine instead of the stock motor. I mean, that is central casting, like old coot story that is possibly not true. Where it's like it's true. You had the rare Oldsmobile that somehow slipped through the cracks. I mean, even giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, like that's still like 162 horsepower car. It's like it wasn't some kind of amazing 200-mile-an-hour machine. Anyway,
they did make a convertible of this.
That's right. A convertible with the basket handle. That thing's amazing. Handle. We have never seen one of those in Lemons, I don't think.
We've never seen one of these at all.
Oh, man. We got to have one.
Coupe or convertible or sedan.
Yeah.
There's a 4-door as well.
Oh, dude. Sweet. All right. Next up.
More Cutlass action.
Yeah. God. Wow. I don't know that I've seen one of these, certainly not recently with that taillight treatment. God, just the body sculpting on the sides.
Yeah.
It doesn't not work. And God, the wheel and tire package is just spot on for this. Like the mega sidewall. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, this is this is just after the muscle car era, obviously, when there was like this vestigial muscle to cars with absolutely no horsepower.
Right.
So they did these weird, the 70s Dodge Magnum had the same thing where the body like had these weird extensions that like jut out, and they're kind of curved and, kind of resemble what used to be like the bulging fenders of these very muscular looking cars. But then it just looks weird. It looks like when somebody has, if you ever seen like
implants.
I was going to go with, yeah, let's just go with that. I was going to say cyclists whose calf muscles are all weirdly shaped.
Yeah, right.
It's a muscle. Yeah. Okay. But it looks disturbing.
Yeah.
You have that. Now, that said, like the rake of the rear window and the C-pillar, kind of awesome.
It's pretty cool.
I'm super into that.
I also noticed there's a little fender badge on the front fender. I think that might make this a 442.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So,
which was totally meaningless by this point, and then absolutely meaningless by the time the Olds Achieva 442 came around.
God. Oh, Achieva. Wow.
This is also the classic signifier of the Malaise era of this very rounded car, with round elements and then these horrible, horrible squared off taillights.
Yeah.
Like you can't decide what it's supposed to be.
I also like the tow hitch because yeah, man, why wouldn't you tow something with this?
Hey, you got to tow your boat.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up, an Alero.
Now we're talking.
A friend of a friend had an Alero, and she was a bartender. And knew that my friend knew about cars. It's like, I got this Alero and it makes a sound. And she described like clearly what was some kind of very terminal bottom end issue, where it was just like, oh, dude, maybe I'll take a look at it. It was like, well, like liquid, it came out of the bottom and now it makes a noise. And it's like, I don't know. Take it to a shop. Like, didn't want to be the bearer of extremely tragic Alero news.
This is the car. I'm aware this is probably a Midwest thing, but this is the car that had the most inexplicable defenders of it, like people who thought they were like really awesome like performance cars, like a direct competitor for like a Civic or something, like I never understood that, but the people who thought that the Alero was something hot, and man, it is so but
well, I mean, I'm glad to hear you say that because as a coastal elite myself, like I would see that going to visit my mom's family in Detroit, where you would see a car like this modified as if it were a 3 Series BMW, and I would always kind of be like, now they know that this is not as good, right? Like,
nope.
So, well, there you go. God, extreme bigness of taillights. Like really the polar opposite of the Trofeo earlier, where like taillight percentage of back of car is like way increased on this one.
Yeah, boy. By the way, shares a platform with the Pontiac Grand Am. Mm-hmm. And if you ever want to watch some horrifying crash test footage, go find like the 2000 Grand Am crash test footage. That crash test dummy gets killed like 4 times during one crash. And just a reminder that the Alero, not a great car. You know, kind of independently and qualitatively. Still, never had one in lemons. Putting a roll cage in it probably will solve many of the actual crash test problems. Yeah. It just like crumpled into the cabin. So, terrible things.
The poster here, Fritz Armstrong 1, says that this particular is #purple brown.
Oh, you know what this actually might be then is it might be a Final 500 Oldsmobile, because they were all that terrible purple brown. The last 500 of them.
They're phasing out a company that's been around for literally 100 years, and they're like, what color embodies this century of automotive history?
Yep.
#purple brown.
Yep. The last Oldsmobile to come off of the Oldsmobile factory was a purple brown Alero.
That could have been it. Could have
been it.
A rare piece of automotive history. And speaking of purple brown,
oh man,
are we back into LSS town?
You know, you would think so. This is actually the last. And speaking of last things, this is the last Oldsmobile Cutlass.
Oh, God.
Which shares a body. It is a Chevy Malibu with a different nose, basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Now, speaking of, unfair comparisons to non-American cars, but so that makes this like a 2004 or something like that.
Yeah, they made it until 2002, something like that. It was a short run because they weren't selling any of them because it was literally a Malibu with no changes to it. So there was no reason for it to exist. You would just buy a Malibu for $4,000 less.
Or buy an Accord for like, $4,000 more and still have it be a better value.
Right. This one's lived a hard life.
Yeah.
Looks like.
Yeah. Although
it's got
once again, a good entry into the Detroit rally, because probably has, a V6 and freezing air conditioning, which is kind of my requirements.
Yeah, it would also have probably like whatever poor attempt at leather they put into those.
Yeah.
So
it's
kind of what's crazy about this is that this is actually probably the car that killed Oldsmobile, because they were still selling the Cutlass Sierra hand over fist in 1996, unchanged for 15 years. And then they axed it and replaced it with this thing.
Yeah. And every assistant manager of an asphalt company in South Bend, Indiana was like, I don't like the changes they have made.
Yeah. it is not square enough for my taste.
Yeah. Speaking of not being square, is that like a Trax or a Pontiac Torrent or something behind it?
Oh, what is happening there?
I don't know. I know we dump on General Motors a lot, and the whole SUV thing is well publicized here. I'm not a big fan of, and General Motors probably got rid of this Cutlass because, I guess everybody wants to buy an SUV, and then they came out with whatever that is behind it. So I can't really say that this Cutlass is a great car, but I also can't say that we've had any progress since then from this.
No. Famously, the only SUV Oldsmobile sold was the Bravada, which has all the same hallmarks of this car, in that it was basically a Chevy product with different badging on it and a different nose.
Yeah. And a really stupid name. What Bravada to name something Bravada,
right?
Or whatever. All right, back to when cars were cars. Oh, dude, check out wait a minute. Check out the triple brown on brown with the IROC wheels. What is happening? But never mind. For a second, I thought it had a racing fuel cell, but no, it's a cardboard box full of crap.
Yeah.
It's probably full of spiders and bees.
Yeah, it's just the standard box of bees.
Yeah. Oh, man. For a second, I thought this guy was headed to the circle track, but no, he's headed to the ER or whatever's going to bite him that's in that box.
Yeah. So this is a Delta 88 or 98.
Full size. Something.
B-body, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean...
Also a car that looks like it's from 77, which probably means it's an 87.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you called out the striking feature of it immediately, which is the many shades of brown heaped onto this thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of staggering. But then you look at the triple rectangular tail lights with the medallion in the center. Those do look like Firebird wheels.
Yeah.
You can kind of just barely see the interior. Looks to be brown shag.
Yeah.
The headliner's drooping as they all do. That's kind of a great, if not for Lemons racing, this is a A++ Lemons rally machine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, plenty of space to hang out and take in the scenery. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty neat. All right, next up. Oh, look at that. Speaking of 442s, this is like the last of the 442s, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's got to be like 79, something like that, maybe 80.
Yeah, man. Look at the arrow nose. Now, surprisingly late into the 70s, there was a NASCAR homologation aspect to weird nose caps like this. Like we were talking about the Laguna S3 earlier, and I think somebody in the comments mentioned that, like, no, actually that was to make it legal for NASCAR, which, that would be great if that were the case now. Yeah. God, I always think about that. Like, obviously NASCAR has effectively become a spec series, and that's the only way to get the, 40 car pileup that appears to be like what they're shooting for at every event.
Right.
But I do wonder, everybody says, I like NASCAR when they were based on real cars. Nowadays, like, if that were the case, I almost think it would be more entertaining, because it would be like, Camrys and Accords, V6 front wheel drive. And like, if you wanted a V8, you would have to make a V8 Camry to homologate it. Like, I feel like that would be, in all fairness to NASCAR, in its current formula, it is kind of fun to watch. Loud V8 engines, 40 of them going by at 200 miles an hour all at once is actually kind of a spectacle. But I wouldn't mind seeing like an actual, must be homologated factory spec series, especially now that like not everybody's got a sedan anymore. Like, it would be a Camry, an Accord, and a Ford Escape out there. Like, I would watch the hell out of that version of NASCAR.
There's nothing stopping us from starting our own Lemons oval series with that. You would end up with the same thing.
Yeah. You must homologate your oh boy. That's where like something like the Saturn View Redline would all of a sudden become like the ultimate
thing.
It's like, it's got the unfair Honda V6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, last car for this week. Speaking of Grand Ams.
Yeah.
So this is not a Cutlass Sierra, but a Cutlass Calais. So speaking of the Pontiac Parisienne, I don't remember if we were talking about this week or last week.
Yeah.
But how many General Motors cars are named after locations that people in America have never heard of or have no idea where they are? Calais, like, does somebody in Hamtramck know where Calais is?
No, no, there's a 0% chance of that. Yeah, what are the other ones? The Parisienne, which people know where Paris is.
Yeah.
I mean,
but nobody knows that Parisienne means Paris.
Person from Paris. Yeah.
Right.
I would guess your average American couldn't find Monte Carlo on a map either.
Yeah.
That's a stretch.
They probably would put it somewhere like in the greater Omaha area.
Yeah.
You know,
is that the one that is in Brazil? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
Well, with Kelly, Quad 4.
Yeah,
famously.
That's IndyCar technology for the street, is what that is.
Right. Oh man. Well, there it is.
I mean, this really brings us full circle to the first car, because I think the styling is very similar to that Trofeo. It's just like somehow narrower, but also taller. Mm-hmm. Like it has the same kick up, like the trunk kicks up to a higher level. I would imagine it's got the single tail light that goes all the way across the back.
Probably, yeah.
Quad 4, which, the Quad 4, that is good idea, poor execution in classic General Motors tradition. Good power for the time, good technology for the time, but they just had issues. Like, I feel like they warped heads or something like that. Like they had some kind of sort of central flaw that made them problematic. So, yeah,
one of the interesting things about General Motors is how all of their overhead cam engines failed spectacularly until the Saturn engine.
Right.
You had the Vega engine, you had the Quad 4. There's another one that I'm blanking on. Oh, the Opel engine that they put in the Sunbird and the
right. And meanwhile, the Iron Duke would run poorly longer than any of those run at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So they were like, well, I guess push rods is the only thing that works. So we
yeah.
And then Saturn was like, well, why don't you just make it not suck?
Yeah. Clearly, other people have figured this out. Why can't we?
Yeah. So I always laugh that Saturn was like the first GM brand to actually figure out overhead cams before, or at all, really.
Right. All right, that does it for this week. I've got the hooptiest. I'm gonna go with one of the Oldsmobiles. I'm gonna go with the not so hoopty, pretty awesome. I'm going with the box full of bees. Because the side trim coming off and the quadruple brown upon brown upon brown, and then the subtle hint of sportiness with the F-body wheels that were also brown, just to fit into the whole theme. Imagine just driving this down the road, and how many neighbors would call the cops. It'd be great.
Yeah. That's a fine choice, really, and would look great on a Lemons track. But for the car we'd most want to see built for Lemons, I think I have to go with one of the Oldsmobiles. Many really good options, but the plethora of body styles to go with the body cladding on the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. You got the convertible, you got the coupe, there's a sedan version. I mean, it's totally tailor-made for Lemons.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be the convertible in that teal color. But any of the above would look incredible on the track. I agree. That's a good choice.
I think that's right. So,
hey, maybe you could be like this dude in the comments and find the rare factory mule for top speed testing that slipped through. And then if you've got that, the judges would never know because it's so rare. And then you would just win the race by 40 laps. I mean, it's a foolproof plan.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with that. I think that's going to do it for this episode of Lemons Car Spotting. Be sure to tag your stuff, #Lemons Car Spotting, so we can find it, and we will talk about it on this show. So we'll see you next Thursday.
Ooh, yeah.
I feel like there was a missed opportunity for something this week. I just can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good variety.
Yep. Lots of variety.